Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Call the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you very much. Acknowledge the member who's just returned to his seat and acknowledge the hard-working Kiwis who are out there in our primary sector every day doing their work and ensuring our country moves forward. Sir, he mentioned Silver Fern Farms, and I'm glad that he did, because the 82% that voted in favour of that, we'll call it a merger, what is of issue is whether they voted so based on accurate information and whether the Overseas Investment Office also had accurate information and has done due diligence. I think that's fair to say, an issue that we will be returning to in weeks to come. Sir, the member opposite has rightly noted that land information is part of the review for us today, and of course the land information portfolio takes in the Overseas Investment Office, which has been much in the news of late and not for good reasons. Because our primary sector, as with the rest of New Zealand, faces a choice. Are we going to be simply a hard-working producer of relatively raw materials where we don't get very much share of wallet, or are we going to add value and knowledge, and are we going to be world beaters for premium products that we can put on restaurant tables and shelves around the world? And if the latter, then we're going to need several things. We're going to need knowledge and information all the way along that value chain from the farm to the table. And we're going to need high-quality investment along the way. High-quality investment. Now, the Labour Party is in favour of high-quality foreign investment into New Zealand business. We believe we should be international traders. We believe that we should be out there in the world, but not in a stupid way. And that brings me back to the OIO, because today it has, by the Minister's own admission, been the case that the OIO got it badly wrong. In the case of a sheep and beef station in North Taranaki called Onetai Station, where they did not properly do a due diligence test on the foreign investors that were buying it. This station is alongside a sensitive riverway in Taranaki, and the guys who bought it just happened to have criminal prosecutions in their background for toxic dumping into their local river before they bought the Taranaki River. Not ideal. What is worse is that in the first place, our watchdog, the OIO, that New Zealanders depend upon to keep our country safe from investors of ill repute, it relied upon them saying they were clean. They tried to do a quick Google search, but according to documents that we have seen, they didn't find anything. And that is why, in the review that the Minister has belatedly announced today, the terms of reference include helping the OIO to find someone who can actually work Google. That's extraordinary. New Zealand's official watchdog of investment quality into our primary sector couldn't find criminal convictions which the Labour Party took 30 minutes to search. 30 minutes to search. And if it's true of that case, how many other cases are sitting in the Minister's problem pile? I'll bet you this, Mr. Chairman, that the Minister didn't opt for a full external review if she thought everything in that box was hunky-dory. And in the farm language that is around out there in the sector, I'd say bugger. Something's very wrong in the OIO, and it's going to take members across both sides of this House to fix it. We want good trade. We want our primary sector to move forward. We want high-quality foreign investment that will add skills, knowledge, distribution chains, market access. But what we don't want is sensitive New Zealand land sold off without so much as a wet bus ticket to people who actually don't have the credentials that they are required to have under our New Zealand law. That is sloppy. That is not appropriate. That is not doing justice to the hard-working, farming people up and down New Zealand who get up every morning and work their guts out to make a decent living. It's not honouring them to allow their land to be bought up by people who may or may not have been fully frank about their criminal records when they made those investments. And, Mr Chairman,
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Chairman, if people out there in New Zealand think that this is an isolated case, then I think the Labour opposition has news for them. This is a system failure. Where does this go now, sir? Where it goes is very simple. That the Onatai Station scandal is the tip of an iceberg. It is one of many approvals which the current government let past the goalie over the last 5 years. Do you know, sir, that only one overseas investment application into New Zealand farmland has been turned down in the last 5 years? Only one. Unbelievable, my colleague says. Unbelievable. Only one. That was Lochinvar Station, the Crayford Farms, and that was after weeks and weeks and weeks of media attention, of opposition work, and only then, reluctantly, did ministers say, oh, it's too hard. But the Overseas Investment Office probably would have ticked it off, just like they've ticked off every other application without exception during the period. Why? Why? Is it that they think it's appropriate to rely upon a statutory declaration, the word of investors who may or may not have come through shell companies run by Mossack Fonseca and others? Do they think that that's good enough for New Zealanders? Do they think it's okay to do a 5-minute Google search, find nothing and say they've done their job? Or is it more sinister, sir? Is it possibly the fact that the current government is so intent on keeping the tap of cash open that they don't really care where it comes from? Could it be the case that the national government is more intent on looking after the interests of the powerful and the moneyed than the average New Zealander?
Order. If the member could resume his seat momentarily. We've noticed that the Labour Party has exhausted all its supplementary calls and all its calls on this particular call. So unless the honourable member is using a call from a subsequent debate, then we should probably pause it there. He's had a free hit for about 2.5 minutes.
Concludes, therefore, by saying we appreciate the opportunity to put before the public the system failure.
You don't have another call. You've had 2.5 minutes of the next one.
Chair. Mr Chair.
I call